Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
This is a Danger Entertainment podcast. DangerEntertainment.net's Danger Entertainment Podcast Network.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast. And or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org, or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out and try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Everyone, my name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening, and with me, as always, we have Brian and Henno. Hey.
Hi.
Hello?
Hey, it's Mr. Tentative Guy.
Yeah. Is
He's
it?
been around in a while.
He's come to join us.
Yeah. I did? God.
Oh, just like a teenage girl, everything with an upward inflection.
Drives me crazy. It's not just them anymore. There's so many people that talk that way. So much now.
It's true.
Annoying. Because there's so many times where I will just straight out ask a person, like, you were telling me. Like, know how to take what you're saying.
Your inflection is in the wrong spot.
Yeah. Just the Mike Myers or whatever, you're putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Right?
Like, what? I don't, huh?
Well, guys, how's it going? What's been going on?
You're sober.
I saw that. Congratulations, sir. That is awesome.
Yep. Got me beat.
My little coin arrived on Friday early.
Cool.
It stinks that you can't have the option, but
Oh, that was cool. Like last Thursday, I did my men's group on Zoom.
Oh, nice.
And the funny part was when I logged on, all of a sudden I heard these comments, who's the DJ? And I'm like, DJ? What DJ? And I'm like, who the? And I was like, oh, I'm the only guy with headphones and an actual microphone in front of their face.
I love when that happened. I used to do that back when my buddy Dell had that Beyond the 140 podcast, because after the show, people could turn their cameras on, and then we would just have like a group chat. And I'm sitting there, and I got the microphone and the headphones on, and everybody, would say like, "Oh, are you part of the show?" kind of a thing. And I was like, "No, it's already hooked up. There's no sense of me disconnecting it to have inferior audio. Like, why would I do that? So, yeah,
it was really fun. It was great because, I've been rehearsing with the band on Thursday nights. So I haven't been, go to that on a regular basis. And so it was kind of fun to check in. There was quite a few of us, enough to make it a good chat. And yeah, that was really fun. So I'll see about Thursday. I might be doing some recording. Which is kind of a bummer, but I found out that a lot of our 12-step meetings are being done through Zoom.
Yeah.
So they set up a schedule on the main meeting place, which I was like, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then a friend of mine said, what happens to the people who are, homeless or don't have tech, and I'm like, you know what? It's honestly a concern.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're getting, that someone's able to help them and however they can. There's the thing about it is there's a lot of resources for whatever it is. So many different, there's newsletters and besides just books and that kind of stuff. So I believe anybody that wants help or needs something to get them through the day, that they can find it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's like, boy, what a struggle that would be to, that's the hard part where I have to, we're as a community, people that are working on some sort of recovery, it's you do everything you can to reach out to people, give them opportunities, but there's also a point where you have to go, okay, well, they also have to reach out.
Yeah.
We can't go out
Absolutely.
and save everybody.
What I was just thinking is, I don't want to sound cold, but that is really the truth of it, is you can't save everybody. So it's,
and that's one thing that I've about any sort of outreach that I don't do much of the like go to the hospital and talk to somebody kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone that I know that has done that, if the person just flat out doesn't want to hear anything you say, you just say, well, if you ever want to, if you need to get a hold of our phone number, and just you leave.
Yeah.
And that's that. There's
Right.
no pressure ever. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm sure it works better that way too, because then you're really talking to people who want to hear the message, because we know how it is, when you're trying to talk to somebody who's not ready or not in a place or whatever it is, if they don't want to hear your message, they're not going to hear it. So
it's truly attraction, not promotion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It really is. It's about being, being an example of something working in your life that other people go, oh, I want that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it really helps with people because I had that impression too the first time that I had all sorts of thoughts of what they're going to make me do.
Yeah.
About it is a lot of 12-step programs and rightfully so, they have a strong people associate religion with it.
Yeah.
And I get it. It has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. It is a barrier for a lot of people though, like I've heard various people talk about that, how, they'll be like, I didn't want to go into 12-step or whatever because, I'm an atheist or whatever. And it's like, there's a lot of people who found, like you always talk about, is finding your higher power. It could be a plate of spaghetti if that's what you want it to be, like, like it really is about putting your faith in something else, or whatever. But yeah.
Is getting out of yourself.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Letting go of that self-centeredness, which is fun. I had a, right now there's, we've been talking about it, change in situation, change in plans, change in routine has conversations because I've got some extra time off, and that's been awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
To talk to somebody on the phone, to just talk, like, how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you feeling? And because I'm back to 6 hours a day, which has been great. It really has been. It's been really strange at work because it's luckily it's back to 4 of us. It was 3. But one person that wasn't quite sure ended up just having didn't have COVID, so she was able to come back.
Well, that's good.
And so yeah. 4 of us is good, and then on the 20th it'll be 5 of us. But like the last 2 days, I've been doing the routine that pretty much 3 of us do, to some degree or another. And it was really kind of wild because on Sundays I'm the only one there, but I just do a little bit, But then there's like garbage days on Tuesday, and so now you're supposed to do everything. Well, I'm the only one doing it. It was great. It felt great. It feels good to be useful like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of our owners have they're wearing masks, they're wearing gloves, and so I'm just doing the same thing. The only time I don't is if I'm, pretty much by myself, then it doesn't bother me. That it was kind of funny. My general manager was like, when I said, when I do unit inspections, I wasn't wearing, he's like, that's weird. I would be wearing a unit. I would more likely wear it when I was doing unit inspections. And his whole thing is that you're not going into someone's place and spreading virus around.
Right.
And I'm just
that makes
like,
sense.
Yeah, I get it, but I was like, I got to draw a line somewhere. Literally, nobody's here. Yeah. They're not coming next week. They're not coming in 2 weeks.
Right.
They might come in months from now.
Yeah.
That's the least of my worries. I'm more, it's more about concentrations and stuff. So
yeah,
but
it'd be different if it was a hotel, where you never know who's going to show up and when and all that stuff. Yes. So yeah, exactly. Yes. I get you.
And so it's those conversations are interesting that we're having, and also look at what our future is and what have going on, and I'm actually even after today when I saw that, I heard that we had the most per capita, but I hadn't seen the actual chart yet, and I just see where the source was, and I saw it today. It was just like, wow, like it's New York, New Jersey, atop of all of it. Blaine County, Idaho.
Oh wow!
Cases per capita, and it's funny because we have like 500 something cases. Well, we have 12,000 people in the valley, maybe. Wow. So you multiply that to make the per 100,000 cases per 100,000. Mm-hmm. So now our 500 becomes 1,500. And then you take New York, who's got millions of people, take their number, but you have to divide it. And so that becomes 1450 or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wild to go, oh yeah. That's if you're doing it per capita, some get multiplied, and it was wild. But I really are the amount of cases that we have we had like literally every day last week, 30, 40, 30, 40, 30, 40, 30, 40, because test results were coming back, and now it's down to 15. And lower numbers. So our trend is flattening out a lot. So there's a lot of contractors. We had 65 finally this week, and that's get out and work weather.
Yeah.
And to have construction shut down right now, I get it if you're all indoors, but 65, it's go out and frame a building.
Yeah.
Guys are fine.
Right.
So I think they're reevaluating that, because it's mainly and hopefully they'll look at it, because I'll tell you, there's a lot of contractors that are like, yeah, we're trying to find ways around this.
Yeah.
Especially one was great. We have a stucco company, and they're like, well, we're all related. Because that's the rule. You can't have people congregate that aren't family.
Right.
Right, anywhere. And he's like, we're literally all related. We're from the same town in Mexico. Literally, we're cousins, and
Yeah, right.
everyone, they're like, our whole team is related. They're like, so technically,
We're just a family that happens to do work together.
Right.
Yeah. Into Couch Lock this week. I had a really good motivated last week. I actually did a lot of music stuff over the weekend. It was just great. And then it's like, okay, now what's next? And it's like, I just kind of drifted back into a little bit of laziness, but also the schedule changed. Whereas, okay, now it just takes me a while to kind of readjust to a schedule.
Yeah.
Shift, so to speak, and find my routine again. But my favorite diner started doing pick up and take out again, and they were actually slammed this morning, which I was so excited to hear. I'm like, good for you guys.
Right.
I'm
Exactly.
just happy. You got to find it where you can find it right now. And I really, that was great, was talking to our friend Neil, and just realizing that I'm not future casting. I'm right where I'm standing right now. And that feels really good. And that's my win, hands down.
Yeah. It's really surprising. I'm actually kind of finding the same thing, that I'm not like, oh, when this is over, or, oh, this is that, like worrying about the future and all this. It really is. This has been, I think, for some of us, I think it's been a real good exercise in just being present, because you're so, you just can't worry about tomorrow, a week, whatever, because everything has been kind of influxing to where things have literally been on a day by day or a few days by, or a week by week kind of basis. I think it's really interesting, some of the shifts in thinking and how we're living during this time. And, I hope a lot of us get an opportunity to really continue that later, like that we're going to be able to maybe go, maybe I didn't have to, be busy all the time. Maybe it was okay that I had downtime and different stuff, or, at least find new appreciations for different things. Like, I know quite a few people with kids that probably hate teachers a whole lot more now.
Absolutely,
stuff like that,
sure.
or people who I've seen actually. I was talking with a guy a few days ago that was talking about how as of a month or two ago, he was ready to quit his job and he absolutely hated it, and he's still working. And he goes, he's like, it really gave me a chance to rethink where I'm at in life, and the fact that I'm actually really grateful I have the job I do, because I'm not laid off. I can still provide for my family,
right.
and it's really interesting how, like I said, there's all these opportunities to kind of rethink some things for some people, and maybe give you a little
perspective,
cold water on you that, and you're just like, hey, you know what? Whatever. So, yeah, pretty cool. Again, a silver lining situation that, it's been one of my favorite things through this has been hearing people talk about their silver linings. I'm listening to a WWE podcast by a tag team called The New Day, and one of the guys was talking about how he loves the fact that it's giving him the opportunity to spend some time with his kids, because, their travel schedule usually does not give them, they get like one day at home a week, and now they're not doing the house shows every night. They're not doing live shows. They're taping in advance and stuff. He's had an opportunity to spend time on shows. Xavier Woods, he's rehabbing an Achilles, but at the same time, he's basically been digging into video games he's been wanting to play, but just really hasn't had the time because they're on, such a schedule. So, and they're both like, it's been nice to kind of have that, time off basically, because, like I said, WWE doesn't stop. There's no off season. The only time you stop is if you get hurt. Yeah. And by hurt, I mean surgery hurt, You know, like they get hurt all the time, you know,
true.
and keep
They're hurt all
going.
the time.
Yeah, like, you know, football players or anything else. So, you know, yeah, it's been really nice to hear different stuff with people about that. And again, I really dig hearing kindness stories, you know, especially right now when so many people, there are a lot of people, you know, feeling the weight of this situation. But it's nice when, you know, even if it's the smallest thing, you know, sometimes people are really, you know, coming through with some really nice acts of kindness, you know, which is beautiful because, you know, there's been a lot of greediness and selfishness as well, you know. So I'm glad to see.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see more and more stories of kindness, though. So, you know, that's good. I guess I'll just keep going into my week. Because it was pretty boring. Big surprise. Well, again, you know, it's like the problem that you have when you have podcasts where we do the week catch up thing is it's like some people, like, it's nice that, like, on Salty Language, you know, Tony's still working, so he is still like, hey, I'm going to work, blah, 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 you know, and I don't. So, because if not, it might go, yeah, I didn't do anything this week. Yeah, I didn't either. You know, like, it's like, all right, we'll see you next week, you know. You know, I've done some eBay stuff. I haven't done a ton. I mean, I've cooked a few times this week, you know, tried to get back into that a little bit. And, it was really weird. I went out for a little bit yesterday to get something to eat, and we drove by hardware outdoor bazaar. But anyway, home improvement store. There we go. That's what it is. So we go by there, and it was so weird seeing a line outside of people, you know, waiting to get in, and not just the line, but, you know, people have masks on, and it's just such a weird thing. Like, I think in like 5 or 10 years, you're going to see photography books from this time that are gonna that we're gonna look at and go, oh man, that, you know, oh yeah, I remember when everybody was wearing masks. That's so weird, you know, kind of a thing, you know. Just
we're living history right now,
yeah,
for sure.
exactly,
Absolutely.
You know? So, but it was just really strange, you know, like they had, you know, somebody at both doors, and basically as someone came out, the guy there motioned down to the girl at the entrance, and then she, you know, told the person you can come in, and they had, you know, people speak out, you know, to try to have the distance there. It was just, it's so surreal seeing this stuff, you know. It's odd, you know, from the people watching perspective. It's so. It's cool to me, you know, like it's odd seeing people behave so out of our norm, and just kind of are okay with it, you know, like I like that, you know, there's a lot of people that are complaining about stuff like that, but then there's also groups of people that everybody was standing there just behaving themselves in that line, you know, because we all, like we talked last week, it's like, this is the new normal. You know, next week, or, you know, 2 weeks now, maybe that order gets lifted, or, you know, whatever it is, or 6 months, whenever it is that it gets lifted. And then maybe we go back to the way it was before, or maybe people are still all cautious and still want to space out. You know, it's like, it'll be, you know, a weird experiment really at that point to kind of see how things revert or don't revert.
Yeah.
You know, revert or I guess. But anyway, you know, I really haven't done much else. You know, I watched WrestleMania this past weekend, which was easily the weirdest WrestleMania ever because there was no crowd.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Plus they did a couple matches in like a cinematic fashion, which were really fun to watch, but really weird. But yeah, you know, it's, I don't know. Everything is so, I think that's kind of, for me, a lot of I've gotten caught up in the social behavior part of a lot of this, you know, because it's so strange to me in a time where we can finally find one thing that we're all dealing with
people are still looking for ways to be divisive. Like,
This is true.
out of their way to be divisive. And it's like, really? Is this the time? Like, right now? Like, can't we have this argument in how many ever months when, you know, things at least feel whatever normal is then, you know? Like, do we have to have this now? But, you know, yeah, we do, because life shit. It just keeps going. You know, no matter what's going on with the coronavirus, unfortunately, there's going to be tornadoes, and it sucks. The timing's horrible on any, I mean, not that there's ever good times for tornadoes, you know, like, obviously, but it was like I said, when, you know, our friend T passed away, it's like the corona, you know, life just keeps, you know, the world keeps spinning. And, you know, I've been trying to stay as positive as I can through it, but I'll tell you, it's hard. It really is, you know, and I keep, you know, I listen to stuff, I read, you know, things, and I've found tons of comfort in a lot of the knowledge and stuff that's been out there, you know, because I've really tried to listen to so many of these people who are like infectious disease experts and all this are like, okay, it's just gonna suck for a while, you know, like, and they're optimistic, like, hey, we know things look bad, but here's this good thing, here's this good thing, you know, those kind of things. So it's, you know, a lot of it is kind of, you know, depends on where you decide to point your attention as well. But, so that's pretty much been my week, is I really have tried to, just try to stay as positive as possible and do what you can and all that kind of stuff. But what's getting to me a little bit is that I miss the perception of freedom in ways. I don't know if that makes sense or not. In that, like, I don't go out much, but I like to know that whenever I want to go somewhere, I can. Right now, I feel like, and I heard a friend talking about this on her podcast, and, you know, like, she went to Magic Walk recently, and, you know, she's like, I know I shouldn't have, but blah, and, like, I went to Taco Bell yesterday, and it's like, is that a necessity thing? Yes, it was. No, but, you know, it's like, we need stuff like that to kind of still give us our I don't know what the word for it is, our sense of normalcy, I guess, you know, to keep it, to, you know, like, okay, you know what, we can, this is still here, you know, like, I'm sure, like, Henno, you were saying, like, being able to get food from your favorite diner, because I know that's something you do as kind of a ritual, like, each week. So if that weren't there, it would feel weird, things wouldn't be right, you know, and then having that there, I'm sure there's a comfort to that, you know. That's the word I'm looking for. Comfort is, you know, we still need those stupid comforts, whether it's Taco Bell or whatever. It's, you know, I don't know. I mean, they got my order wrong, so that felt good. You know, good to see nothing's changed there. But
things are still somewhat normal.
Yeah. Whew.
That's funny.
Ordered chicken chalupas. Why'd I get beef ones? Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, that's my week, I guess. I you know, so my win for the week is really that I feel like it's fairly positive. It's very weird. In the next week and a half, I'm gonna have 3 doctor's appointments that are all, well, one's a therapy session, one's a psychiatrist appointment, and one is my primary care appointment, and they're all gonna be telemedicine. So that, you know, not that that's going to be that weird, but at the same time, it's going to be kind of weird because it's different, you know?
Yeah.
But again, that's the new normal, you know, so, and I'm glad it exists. Again, it's, you know, I love the fact that we do live in a time where we can use our phone or Skype or whatever it is to talk with your, and not have to go into the building for it, just to kind of minimize risk there.
Yeah, this would have happened to us 20 years ago. We'd be in a whole different world.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could talk on the phone, you know, but yeah, that's, The only thing I'm curious about it, I got to call and ask, is I have blood drawn before my primary care appointment and do that myself. So,
Yeah.
probably won't be accurate anyway, because no, but I have to have that done, and it's like where I normally go to have that done would be, so I'm not sure about that. I don't even know if they're doing that right now. I have to call and find out, because otherwise there's no point in talking to the primary care, because he's going to go, well, to see blood work before, because it's just that time where he checks all my numbers,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, how about you, Jen?
Well, things are actually going pretty good. Sorry, I'm getting a little feedback. It's causing me a little bit of delay there. Okay, there we go.
All right.
Nope, it's back.
All right.
I'm getting an echo. My voice is coming back at me, so it's causing me some weirdness there. All right, I'm going to try to talk through it. Goes away. But so things are going pretty good. I've started again. I used to love to read books and stuff, and I got away from it. So now I pulled up the book app on my iPhone, and I was able to kind of download some books through that. So I've been reading it on my iPhone, which it's just unusual because I'm used to like actual paper books.
Yeah.
So I can, touch them, hold them, the whole works. And so I've read 1.5 books this way on the iPhone. I'm used to it. It's different, but I'm getting used to it. The one thing I don't like is that it goes into night mode on me, and I can't seem to figure out how to turn that off. So if anyone knows how to let me know, shoot me a message. But yeah, I'm kind of getting into my own, I have my stuff that I do, let's say, and I'm working from home. So I've got that takes up a lot of time, obviously, and work is crazy. So we just hit busy season, which is spring. So with the weather warming up, the farmers are getting out in their fields and they need all the products that we sell. So my job has just gone from 50 miles an hour to now I'm at Mach 20. So emails galore, which adds to the extra stress. So I've kind of backed away from social media a bit and just kind of focused on being quiet and the book, watching a little TV and stuff, and spend time with my pups and all that good jazz. Couple of things I did want to bring up. One thing, a friend of mine reached out to me and we talked for a little bit, and he reminded me because he's a caregiver, and he just mentioned, because he's struggling with him and his wife are struggling right now. And part of the reason they're struggling through all of this is the time with somebody can cause struggles, but also he has expectations that she's not living up to. And I had to reinforce for them that, you can't do that. The only expectations you can have are for yourself, and she has to have her own expectations and goals for herself. And you can't force somebody to do something that they don't want to do. Matter of interest or not, if they're not willing to step up and take the chance and do the work, then they're not.
Yeah.
You can't force somebody to do that as much as you want them to, as much as you love them to. It was just yet again, kind of, you have to live in the moment. You have to set the goals and the expectations for yourself and not for others. And you've got to make sure that you don't I'm not trying to think of the right words, how I want to say this. You'll just find yourself in a much happier spot if you don't try to control. I think that's what a lot of it is control.
Yep.
Is let that control go. You can't control the future, the people. You can only control yourself. And as much as we have the best intentions of trying to help somebody, if they don't want it, they don't want it. And there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. Well, also realistic, the idea of changing someone, you know, like there is a situation there too, you know, potentially, because you know, if that's who a person want them to be a different thing than they are, you know, does that mean that you're right in that scenario? You know, so you do have to understand that, you know, hey, they should change to what I want is really narcissistic, you know, or not narcissistic. It's really selfish, you know. So, you know, you do need to do a little self-reflection there as well to make sure your intentions and reasons are, you know, pure and not just for, hey, this is what I want, you know.
So it was an interesting reminder and something I wanted to make sure I brought up on the show. It was just kind of, it's those tough pills sometimes when you just feel that you have the best intentions in the world and you're in the right spot, in the right mind frame, and everything you're trying to do is the right thing, and somebody just doesn't want to do it. It's so frustrating and so difficult, but you just have to stop and just say, no, just because it's my right doesn't mean it's your right. And you just have to let it go.
Right.
So,
yep.
I have my doctor's appointment I have an appointment with my psychiatrist on Monday. It's going to be a virtual appointment. So that should be interesting. It'll be my first virtual appointment with the doctor. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go on multiple different levels, because I've been on the same medicine years now, and usually our conversations are pretty standard. So I'm curious to see if this, because we haven't really talked in a while, because he's just been refilling my scripts and everything's all happy. You know, he refills them, I go get them, everything's all happy, no problems. He's not asked to see me. I've not asked to see him. We're all happy. Well, it turns out that I guess I'm supposed to be seeing him every 3 months. Like, well, if I'm supposed to be seeing him every 3 months, then why does he keep refilling my medicine?
That's true. Usually the doctors will deliberately not refill it, so you have to, you know, you have to come see him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I don't know, but you have to come see him every 3 months. I'm like, well, in almost 2 years. So she's like, no, look at my records. Yeah. He just refills my script with them and everything's good. And I don't really have much change going on. So I didn't think anything of it. So we have a good talk. So
right.
There is a new medicine on the market that I'm curious about. That's a bipolar medicine. That I think I mentioned it on here before. Mm-hmm. It handles the mediums as well as the highs and the lows.
Right.
So that's on my list. On my list of things to talk about. So we'll see how that goes. We're getting a thunderstorm, so hopefully this doesn't affect anything for us.
Yeah. Is that what that noise was?
We're having thunder and lightning right outside my window. Mm. So if you hear the big rumblings, that's what that is. But yeah, this week, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that has really happened. Nothing much. Still laughing about 6 Feet Harold. Mm. I think that's going to be my joke for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, still great. Laughing about 6 Feet Harold.
Yep.
Cracks me up. But every time I go to the store too, I think of that. I'm like, aw.
Yep.
Wonder how Harold's doing.
Yep. Hope he's staying back.
I know.
Funny.
She's gonna make sure he stays healthy, and kudos to her.
Yeah. Clearly, he's not doing it for himself.
Man.
Yeah.
6 feet, Harold.
Oh, goodness. It was all I could do not to crack up right there and there. I was trying to hold it together because I didn't want to embarrass anybody, but I was like, dang, that was funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think, Hanno, do you have the article up?
I do.
Yay.
Today we're going to talk about you couples that are at home by yourselves. You've never spent this much time together, have you? Actually, Sharon and I were, actually, it was really funny, was our favorite checker at our local grocery store. So, how are Sharon and you guys doing? You seem to be doing great. You're pretty independent most of the time, and now you're stuck together. And it's like, we're actually having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All things considered, she's going on some awesome bike rides and stuff, and it's been great.
Nice.
So this topic is from Psychology Today, and it's called Flatten Your Couple Curve. How to stop the spread of growing conflict in your relationship.
Very
we start with, here we are at the beginning of spring and are asked to shelter in place with partners and families 24/7, something we seldom ever do. For some, it will seem like a celebrate their relationship and become even closer emotionally. For others, it can seem like a curse with increasing conflicts, pressure, and frustrations. Such from clients and peers. I'm hearing from my clients, peers, and colleagues about their struggles. It is reported that China is seeing a rise in divorce filings as couples emerge from their long quarantine. In reality, conflict doesn't always have to mean things are bad and handled properly. It can lead to better understanding and deeper emotions. So let's talk a bit about conflicts. The keys to a successful long-term relationship are empathy, validation, and goodwill. If your partner says and believes that the moon is made of cream cheese, and you know that it obviously isn't, instead of criticizing them, try validating their point of view. Try to see their thoughts through their eyes and hear it from their point of view, not yours. Don't criticize, interrupt, interpret, or judge. Be quiet and listen. When you expect something from your partner, discuss it with them. Don't think they're a mind reader. This happens often, even with the couples who've been together a long time and think, oh, they know me so well, I shouldn't have to tell them what I need or want. Assume that your partner doesn't know what you want, even with them. Here are some tips to remember when you're trying to smooth over a conflict. I like where they said, where was the word? Interpret.
Mm-hmm.
It was so, that's one of the things where, we did talk about judgment and, here it is. Criticize, interrupt, interpret, or judge. I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Right, and because that means you're rather than asking a question or asking someone to specify or reiterate, you literally interpret what they just said, rather than hearing asking them what do you want to say.
Right.
It's interesting. Anyhow, tip number 1: avoid overstatement. I advise couples never to begin a sentence with "You always say that." Ooh, this is on our distorted thinking list.
I hear that a lot, and it growls me up every time.
You never do this.
I hate
Otherwise
those
known
words.
as I've never heard it called an overstatement. I've always heard it called as an absolute.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, absolutes.
Yeah, they recommend using "for the most part," "mostly," or "more than I like," which that's actually a really good one. More than I like. Yeah,
That's most of the time what we're saying is you're doing it more than I like. Yeah.
It's not always.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all the time. It's just like.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a long time to let go of this and to be aware of it. And a lot of it was by getting in and doing this kind of work where I finally realized that absolutes are it's not true.
Right.
It's not true. And in the end, it's clearly on the distorted thinking list for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cognitive distortion because there's always an exception and there's always a little gray area.
Yeah.
So and this was, I like that this was cool is you're not giving anybody any sort of wiggle room there. And it says instead qualify or leave your partner an escape hatch, which that's kind. That encourages conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tip number 2, never say I shouldn't have to ask. Well, yes, you should. In any relationship, you must ask for what you want. In therapy, this is sometimes called symbiosis. That is thinking that your partner thinks and feels you do and should just know.
I hate the song If You Don't Know Me By Now. Hate that song because the whole purpose of the song is like, if you don't know me by
Did
now,
you just say
you're never,
porpoise?
ever going to know me.
Did you just
It's
say
like,
porpoise?
What?
Did you just say porpoise?
She did,
Yes,
yeah.
I
Okay, I was
did.
going to say, leave the dolphins out of this.
Okay.
Oh, wait, they're not dolphins.
Fair enough.
I try to correct myself mid-sentence, but yes, I did.
All right.
I hate that song because I hate the message behind it.
I just hate the
It's
song.
like, no. It's like, you will never, you're right, you'll never, ever, ever, ever really know somebody. You know, you do to a certain extent, but there's always going to be surprises. There's always going to be different things that come up. People grow, people change. And we're not mind readers. You know, you got to say what you need.
Yeah.
And she makes a good point here, which says that they may have been that intuitive during the romance stage, but that's because of all the love hormones and you were closely tracking each other every minute of the day. That's to bond you together, not set the tone for your entire relationship.
Yeah.
If it will, you'll be disappointed. I'm like, that's
Yeah, absolutely.
tip number 3, intentional dialogue. Harville Hendrick name.
Jimmy's lesser-known brother, right?
Yeah, who wrote Imago Relationship Therapy or Imago? I don't even know. IRT model creates a safe container for effective communication called intentional dialogue. Partner should see the world the way you want him to and vice versa. I use it with every set of partners. It emphasizes mirroring, validation, and empathy. Most couples engage in monologues, not dialogue, so this offers a realistic, valid way to communicate. Wow, there's a lot of jargon in there.
There really is.
Yes.
There really is. But the point being is to, in simple terms, try to view it from the other person's point of view. Which other side of it, so you gain some empathy. And again, I like this idea of wiggle room. Give each other some wiggle room. Way out. Our next tip is mirroring. This is the first part of the intentional dialogue communication partner. Oh, we're going to go into these things. Interesting. Okay. One partner sends information, the other receives it. The sender delivers all the information relating to one topic until they're entirely finished, using short declarative sentences that start with the word I. The receiver doesn't interpret, diminish, or magnify what was said, but simply repeats it like a parrot and then asks, did I get it? Wow. All right.
Oh, boy.
Jen, have you seriously done a conversation like this before ever?
I have come, not 100%, but yes, I've come about 80% of it that way. Wow. I have actually seen this in practice.
Have you? Okay, I'm impressed.
Yeah, on TV, actually. I saw it in practice on TV between a couple. And it's really interesting.
I bet it is.
Because that's what you say, you make your I statements, and then the other person basically just mirrors it back. It's like, what I heard you say was, when I do such and such and such, you know, when I brush my teeth. Yep, did I get it? Does this make sense? And it's all you're doing is you're not doing anything, looking for any judgments, nothing else other than comprehension. It's like we're reading something out of a book, and did you retain the information? And it's an exercise in listening and comprehending each other. With another point. In this moment, it's all about listening.
And then you ask, is there more?
Yep.
So I actually had kind of chills in a way, because what I imagined what this does, and it does exactly what I imagined. It counteracts behavior such as hello, that is my worst things, dominating, interrupting and finishing each other's sentences, being overly critical or too close-mouthed, which I think that's amazing, or failing to pay close. I mean, seriously, it breaks it down to, to me, it takes all the emotion out of it.
Yeah.
How can you be angry when you have to pay attention to exactly what they said and then repeat it?
I can tell you how.
You can also do it with the ball.
Well,
the ball. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say really quick. I can tell you how, and that's if you walk into that scenario basically pretending you're playing along, but you return it with sarcasm.
Oh, yeah.
Because you'd be like,
But
is
I
that
hear
what you were trying?
saying
Yeah.
is-
Yeah.
Yeah, both parties have to be game
Yeah.
for it.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and using a ball sometimes because whoever has the ball is the speaker. And you literally pass the ball back and forth between each other. It's like if you're not holding the ball, you cannot say anything. That is your listening time.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've used that tool in a variety of different ways, variety over the years and stuff. But that's also a good way to help, and just a visual reminder of passing the information back and forth between each other.
Yeah. It's literally teaching you how to have a.
it's teaching you how to
Yep.
communicate.
Yeah.
Really. That's kindergarten stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
And from the standpoint of we're starting at the basis of
Yep.
how to have a conversation between two people.
Right.
Well,
And sometimes you need that.
I can totally see it, especially when people have gotten into this intimacy blocking behaviors,
Yes.
which we all do. So step number 2 of this process is validation. This is the second part of the intentional dialogue. After your partner finishes what they're saying, you validate what you heard them say, not from your point of view, but from theirs. The receiver says, what you're saying makes sense to me. From your point of view, I can see why you'd think this way. You are not agreeing, but simply validating the point of view. For that moment, you're looking through their eyes, not yours, and validating the way they view the world and acknowledging that yours is not the only way to view the conflicts in your relationship. And then the next line I like, for most people, this can be very hard. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, here's the thing. This is the problem. Very few people can say this. What you say makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I hate to say it, but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
When people are in an argument, they don't want to acknowledge even that you agree with the person you're having a fight with.
Right.
I have more than once in my life, I have said, I hear you, I understand you, I just don't agree with you. And, you know, I have said that so many times over the years because I want to make sure that they understand, because if you keep repeating the same things over and over again, you know, it's like, no, I get it. I understand where you're coming from, what you're saying to me. I have a different opinion from that. So to accept that aspect of it, but it's like a different opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually had an issue with this on a political conversation this week where I tried to say we both have the same goal here.
Mm-hmm.
Our means of getting there is slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think the personal attacks are useful to this, which was followed up by a personal attack. And I was like, okay.
Conversation is now over.
Right.
Like, wow, like I can't even de-escalate.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is that what what they say here makes we live in a world where what makes someone right makes another wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true. That's unfortunately where we're at. Again, so much distorted thinking here.
Yeah. Well, just that statement alone is distorted thinking, because so many times in a situation, both parties are right and both parties are wrong. You know,
in truth.
You know, like realistically, because
realistically.
You know, I mean, because if you ask me, well, the story I'm telling is the truth. Well, if you ask the other person, they'll go, no, that's not the truth. This is the truth. And, you know, so even if it's just that angle, but again, the whole concept of any two people, the point of even in an argument should not be to win, even though that is what we all do, you know? Like, in the end of the day, it's like, we're on the same team. Like, what are we doing here? This is, you know, like, our goal should not be to, I win. It should be more of a situation where, like, how do we win? You know, like, that should be the discourse, is how do we bring it to a point to where we take even, like, compromise situation. It's just you know, like I said, it's just not about one side being right so that you can essentially spike the ball, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing that I think this intentional dialogue is trying to do, because you're right, Brian, is that you're both right and you're both wrong because of perspective.
Right.
And you're trying to eliminate that and get past that. And the only way to do that is to actually go into each other's perspective, see where you're both wrong, and in the process, maybe there'll be some enlightenment to where now you can pull something apart and say, oh, no, actually, I was the only one wrong.
Right.
But you can't get there if you want to go in with the idea of like war. I'm right, you're wrong.
Right.
There's a winner, there's a loser.
You know, I was listening to, again, going back to the New Days podcast, they were talking on one of them, because there's 3 of them in this team. And, you know, in normal wrestling matches, like tag team matches, there's only 2 competitors per team. So, and I always wondered how they decided who was going to wrestle that night, you know, which 2 of them. And they actually, about for some of the matches when they're planning them out, what they do is they all sit down and they basically go, okay, here's the reason I should be in the match. Boom, 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 right? They each get their opportunity to do that. Then they sit down, or while they're sitting there, then they discuss why they think the other guy should be in the match, basically. Which forces you to, you know, like Jen said, you get your me out of it. Then you are forced to be an advocate for the other people. So you
validate.
You have to essentially validate, right? And then, okay, well, you know, then basically, which 2 have the biggest list of pros versus the cons, essentially, or best reasons. And then they come to a decision. And I was like, that in a nutshell really is great communication, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Because on any given night, all 3 of them want to be in the match because, you know, you're competitors, you just want to, you know, but sometimes storyline wise or this or that, it just doesn't fit as well as some, you know, one of the other guys maybe or whatever. So, you know, and same with this kind of stuff, like anything in whether it's a relationship or a work relationship or whatever, it's kind of the same thing. Is again, it isn't all 3 of you can be right, you know, but in the end, you know, like with those guys, there's 3 of them, but there's only 2 spots. So all 3 can be right, but all 3 are not going to be wrestling tonight. You know, so, and the same with at work, you know, like if there's a team of 2 and one of you has to give the presentation and maybe they're going to get a little more glory or whatever you think they are, you could both argue why you think you're going to be the best one, you know, or whatever. And, you know, I don't know. It's just, I really dig when people, jump into that kind of communication because it really is nice. That's why I remember, like, when I was in school, I loved anytime I was taking like design theory type classes. The one class we were in, we had to keep giving, we had basically teams, and we'll get this, and I'd always be like, put me on the team that's contrary to what I believe. I always wanted to argue the opposite of what I believed because it forced me to gain empathy. You know, it forced me to research why people feel the way they do, and then we can find our common ground, you know, or since I already know the pro, let me research the con, because since I already know the pro in and out, I'm going to be able to argue better from this side kind of a thing. So if I am trying to win, I feel like it's a better strategy for me because now I know both sides. You know, and that really, it works the same way though. If your end goal is just good communication and to get a result that everybody's happy with, being able to see both sides really makes a massive difference in that. You know, so.
And in this case, the last part of it, the empathy part, it's, you know, getting into the emotion of it too, where you're being asked to put your feeling aside and try to your own personal feeling, and then try to imagine the other person's point of view and what they're feeling. Mm-hmm. And that's really difficult. But
yeah,
and what's wild is then after that's all done, you switch roles and switch sides. Stick to the same topic though. Like that's something the other person mirrors it back. Okay, validates it, empathized. then you switch roles, stick to the same topic. Now the person that mirrored, they get to say what their part of it is. Back validation. And I think that's only fair because that gives it's even.
Yeah.
And so, and what it says here is this allows both partners' realities to coexist. Because it's true.
Yeah.
They both coexist now,
Yep.
completely evenly. And if that doesn't settle the conflict, go get Hendrick's books and learn some more. But seriously, if you can implement these tools, those even part of it, I could see how you could eliminate. So one of the things is bringing in other topics and having them stack up. That is, again, something that I struggled with for years. And then there's just the tensions or unspoken frustrations and the emotional part of it, which puts you into reaction rather than action. And that's the other thing that this does. Forces two or even more people into action rather than reaction, because you're setting the ground rules. There's a structure. This is how we're going to have this conversation, and you don't get to deviate from it.
Yeah. Well, and you're right too. Like in any attempt at a conversation or a discussion, if the first thing you do is, like you were saying earlier, speaking in absolutes, or I forgot what you said they were called earlier. Was it or overstatements? I'm sorry. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. When you start a conversation like that, basically, like, with well, you always blah, 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 or, if you come out of the gate accusing the other person is no longer listening. They're waiting for their turn to attack or defend, or like you said, just react. And, now you've set the whole course, like you've just created a train wreck is what you've created, instead of, hey, the odds of it, culminating in good resolution dwindle because you're not trying to have a conversation. Again, you're going into it with I'm going to just, leap out of nowhere and kick you in the face, basically.
Yeah. It's he calls it the no better than self-righteous responding emotionally and innately. Causes that is because you don't have the responsibility. You do not have the ability to respond.
Yeah.
You haven't been given that. Like, if you have the responsibility, you can be calm, you can listen, because you get the opportunity. If you don't, then you go into reaction, distance and disconnection and all that kind of stuff. Too much emotion. We know better than ultimately become righteous and respond emotionally. It's so great.
Well, I was thinking about this. It's like, if you think about a great example of this is like the way you guys do Moving the Needle, right? Whoever's turn it is, whatever their pick, whatever, they get to present their case. Everyone else shuts their pie hole, basically, and then you go in a roundtable situation where everyone gets their opportunity, and then there's a chance for a rebuttal if need be, or what have you, and then it's moved to the next point. And in doing so, that gives everybody, like you said, you get the opportunity to present your side of things, so you can bring your emotion and everything, but everyone is like, you're not talking over someone, you're not attacking, you're generally like, hey, here's this is, how I feel. And like I said, at the end of it, and listening to you guys, that somebody kind of moves a little bit, like their meter moves a little, like, kind of a thing. Whereas I think if you guys were just coming out of the gate, that's a stupid thing, how can you be such an idiot, man, like boom, 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 hammering somebody, that podcast would devolve so quickly, so easily. For discourse,
we find the empathy.
Yeah.
We find the empathy in the other person's viewpoint, or we have, it's more than just mirroring what they're saying. It's actually finding empathy. It's finding why they feel the way that they do, and validating it. And then that creates conversation. That's like it says here, this is a more effective way to manage conflict and to communicate.
Yeah.
It just is.
It is. Yeah.
And it's amazing. So this is he, Joe Court, PhD. His letter salad afterwards is LMSW. So he is a sex and relationship therapist and co-director of Modern Sex Therapy, which provides certifications including sex therapy and LGBTQIA affirmative therapy to mental health professionals around this. TI also offers a PhD in clinical sexology.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, and you can find Joe Court at joecourt.com, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. I think Joe's a pretty cool author. I like how he laid that out.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard about this stuff, but I've never really seen it explained this simply.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
I'm
It's really good.
I'm with Jen. Like, I've seen this in I've seen it used in comedic form, and I've also seen it on TV shows. But I can't remember. There was some comedy that used kind of this thing that was like a like two people are in therapy. The therapist basically hands one of them a stuffed animal or whatever, and it's basically like you're only allowed to talk when you have the stuff. If you don't have possession of the stuffy, then you listen. That's your only listen. And of course it devolves because the other person just keeps yeah. So,
and I'm sure there's some really good gripping of the stuffy.
yeah. Like pull it from the other person's hand.
Fur flying.
Yeah.
Stuffing flying.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, are we good?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Nailed it.
Which is actually a really great show on Netflix, but anyways. So if you'd like to continue the conversation with us, you know what to do. You can reach us at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com is our website. You can reach us at outlook.com, which is our email address, at Jen or my other account, which is Witskyditz, WHITSKEYDITZ. If you want to hear more from me, you can hear me on Shape-Up Culture Talk podcast with my co-host Nate. You can find that on shakethesheets.com. And you, Hendo, how can they reach out to
find me on Facebook where I have really fun, engaging conversations about politics.
Nice.
Coming close to blows. Actually, I've been posting a lot of. I'm following a lot of kind of charting COVID-19 doc geneticists, scientist guys, and posting a lot of charts and things like that. So if you're looking for some kind of perspective on that stuff, I've had some people share some really cool resources. So I'm posting some of that stuff on my Facebook page. It's funny how most of it ultimately originates at Twitter. It just seems more polite there. I don't know why.
It's not at all.
Yeah,
it is not.
It's really not.
Know what it is? It's just what niche you find of the social medias. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's the funny thing is, so my Twitter account is podcasting.
Yeah.
And some racy stuff. Both of those are very safe locations.
Yes.
Because anytime I drift outside of it, I'm like, who?
It's scary.
Shut the door, shut the door, shut the door.
Right.
Twitter, and I almost freaked
man.
out. I'm like, I can't handle this. No, I need to go back.
The Needle, we just released an episode where we Clue from 1985.
Nice.
And reviewed it.
So
and
fun.
it was pretty fun. Nice short podcast, about a half an hour. And we brought one of our guests from our previous iteration of Moving the Needle podcast, Bailey. She came and joined us, and we had a great time. And next week we're gonna do Airplane. So
awesome!
Come check us out.
Sweet. You can find me on my other podcast, Salty Language, at saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work, so please be careful where you're listening, or you can figure it out. I don't need to tell you what to do, right? You can also find this show on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes. It's on Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. If you'd like to join that. I'm trying to remember, because once again, Google's being dumb and I can't load my list. I need to just pull it up on my phone is what I need to do, because it doesn't like loading on the computer. Anyway, We're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com, and we're also part of the Danger Entertainment Network, which can be found at dangerentertainment.net. So please go check those out. If you haven't already, please rate, review, and subscribe to the show. We'd greatly appreciate it. And also, please share the show with your friends, especially any episodes you think they might get something out of. I tend to name the show, based on whatever it is we actually talk about. So, if there's a keyword or a situation you're curious to see if we've covered, it would be easy enough to find. Let's see. As always, if you need help, please reach out. Like Henno mentioned about his men's group, there's a bunch of groups that have kind of migrated to Zoom or Skype or whatever for the time being. So, just please reach out to somebody or contact, different, resources like, whoever your programs or whatever are through, and they're offering something like that. If not, there's other resources out there, like Henno said. So, please just reach out or look for those things. Please, especially right now, try not to be by yourself, and make sure you're just reaching out for just the social part of it. I've heard a few people on podcasts talking now about how, for a while, basically nobody looked up. Everywhere we're walking, we got our face buried in our phone and we're looking and walking. And now it's more like another person. You're like a dog when they see their owner, cause it's like, ooh, I can have a conversation, So, but of course, pay attention to social distancing or whatever, cause that's very important at this time. And of course, as I please share and practice kindness when you get the opportunity. There's so much heaviness going on that a little kindness can go a long, long way. So please, just do what you can, and just be nice to one another, and also to yourself. It's very important as well.
Absolutely, and in the words of Tyra Banks, smize. Now, smize is smiling with your eyes, because we're all going to be wearing masks out there, so make sure that you're smiling with your eyes, folks. Be friendly. And with that, go ahead, Ken.